Yeah, that's right. Welcome to the Council of Dads presents Heroes Unmasked, our X-Men 97 episode 3 review. I am one of your hosts, Keith Darth Pooh Newman, and with me, my life mate, Matty D.
Hello, hello.
Sounds like a man who has either had a full day of child rearing or just woke up 15 minutes ago.
It's child rearing.
Yeah, that'll definitely I was watching The Boys today, and my dad said, "Oh, you gave Jen the day off." What? No, it's my job to be a father too. I know you like just gave your wife the day off, but no, it's called co-parenting now, so it's new. It's new. We're
Yeah,
trying
it's
it
not
out.
babysitting. You don't babysit your own kids.
You don't babysit your own kids. What is that? That's ridiculous. Welcome to again our second episode, but our episode review 3 because the first and second episode were packaged as a one-time deal. That episode went a little bit long because of that. This current episode entitled "Fire Made Flesh." We have 3 things we're going to be hitting on today. One is the major reveal of the season's villain, or what appears to be the major reveal. We're going to go into our likes and dislikes, and there are some dislikes because I know it's getting like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, isn't that? Is that what it's getting, Matt?
Yeah, last I saw it was 100.
100 on, like, what else can you think of that has gotten 100 on Rotten Tomatoes?
I don't know. I kind of question the Rotten Tomatoes whether they buy their stuff at this point now. Anyway, because I've seen stuff on there rated really high, and I'm like, nah, it was garbage.
Well, and I also here's the thing: even if they're rating it, that means the fans and they're buying for it, right? So it would be like at a 92 if the fans were trashing it and they were still paying for their stuff. So not only are they paying for it, they probably didn't have to. But there are some things we can talk about, right?
Sure.
Yeah. And then the last is, are we happy overall with the direction of the show? I know it's only 3 episodes in, but is it meeting primarily our expectations? We know it's meeting the expectations of several fans, but just as what we kind of expected this to be, are there any things that we're not too keen on overall in the sense of it? But the very first topic we've got, Matt, it's our big reveal. It's our big villainous reveal.
Mr. Sinister.
Mr. Sinister. What did you think of it?
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really like it. I think so far of all the things that we've seen from the first 3 episodes, I don't have an issue with Mr. Sinister playing the big bad. I guess I just wasn't too impressed with the version that we saw in the cartoon. I thought it was kind of dated. I thought it was pretty comical. And I thought maybe as through the course of I was reserving judgment and hoping through the course of the episode that they were going to kind of expand and on him a little bit, and we were going to kind of see. But he still seemed pretty. I don't know. I was just disappointed. I was hoping for something a little more darker. But it seemed like comic book scary at best. Yeah, I wasn't impressed, and I'm not super familiar with the character, but still, I thought it was going to be a little darker just because of some of the stuff we've seen already, some of the content. They've kind of already colored outside the lines a bit and made it a little darker, a little deeper. I was hoping for something with the villain in the same regard. What do you think about it?
So what I really thought was our villainous turn was going to be kind of a switcheroo later on in the season. I thought they were going to set up the Goblin Queen, which is Madeline Pryor, which is AKA Fake Jean, which is AKA Real Jean. I don't. So,
Which they did show.
But like, listen, I was under the impression that we were going to get a lot of Madeline Pryor. Like, there's just a huge arc of it in the comics where she is a consistent baddie. She also had a very finite conclusion that was then re-exploited because that they want to rehash the X-Men out. And so, well, who do you got to bring back? A character that they kind of written off somewhere. And so, it can get messy on who likes the Goblin Queen and who doesn't like it, because the original run of it was so well done and she was just like a pain. But in our sense, she's kind of like B Fries, right? She's kind of best friends forever with like the X-Men now, I guess. Like,
yeah, I feel like they didn't pull that storyline out. They didn't tease it at all. It was kind of went all in right off the bat once it was revealed that the Jean
right.
Grey we had seen through episode
Jean is a clone
was actually the clone, because it only took like 14 seconds for Beast to figure that out. Yeah. From there, she just kind of went full evil at that point and jumped through the whole elements of that character and the Goblin Queen, and it was just kind of like, wow, that was really fast. I didn't expect them to do it that fast, but I think they're not trying to dive too deep into that storyline, or that comic book storyline. So they kind of it seemed like they wanted to tie it off just within the one episode. But I do think that's a character we'll see somewhere down the line.
Right. I don't expect it to. When I expected to see her I expected her to be vanquished as of the end of the episode. I really did. Or maybe a two, at least two. X-Men in the 90s was known for doing like these 4-part series. They followed Cable through 4, part 1 of 2, 3, and 4.
Right.
And I like that. And I thought they were going to kind of do that. But I saw the title for next week, and I know exactly what kind of storyline they're going into. Because the name of the storyline was also the name of the comic line. So it's fine. I'm not going to get into that because it's just the natural transition, what happens after the Goblin Queen kind of comes back, right? So like they kind of had to introduce the Goblin Queen. I get it. And now they're bringing it, her original run isn't going to be ignored. It was just condensed into like a matter of 20 minutes or less, 15 minutes. So that's disappointing for me. Sinister himself, I just expected him to be as hammy and canny as he was in the first run, and he was very, you know what I mean? Like he's not exactly. He's kind of like a creepy villain. That's kind of his motif.
He felt like almost like a Scooby-Doo villain to me, honestly. Like I was waiting for him to pull off a mask off him at the end and be like
Zoink Scoop.
It was really Professor X playing a trick on us or something.
Yeah, I didn't get a sense of like him being like this dastardly dude, but he is. So here's the deal. For all of those things that you are kind of like not complaining about, but you're kind of like, he's hammy and he's this and he's yes, for all of that. The shit that he does, dude, is twisted in the comics. Like he's like, it's borderline like, well, it's not borderline. It's the morals are out the window. The dude is splicing, dicing people, smashing this together, smashing that together. He's twisted, but like, yeah, on this upside of it, he's like, oh, hello, I'm Mr. Sinister. Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling.
He did, I guess the actions he took were pretty evil. Like I'm not taking a shot at him because of the episode itself or what he did. I guess it's more of the appearance and how he talked, and it was just like how it looked at face value. But I mean, yeah, he's clearly an evil, dark dude. He put everybody through like their own little funhouse of horrors and stuff. And
that's Goblin Queen. That's her power. She has
right. But I mean, he was supposed to be controlling her at that point, correct?
Right. But she controls she's reality warping.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Reality changing or reality warping.
Kind of like if you had to like compare her to anything people have seen in the MCU and you need a comparison, I would say Wanda Maximoff.
Right.
But not as powerful. But she has gotten that way because she's tapped into the Phoenix Force in some strikes, where it's in some storylines where oh my god, she became Uber for a second because she needed MacGuffin needed it.
Right.
I'm not upset by Sinister because I like the fact that he almost seems like this dude couldn't hurt a mouse, and then you just go, oh god, he did what?
He did what to a baby?
Right. You know that babies can't swim.
Yeah.
I like the
I thought it was a back to tank or something.
No, they can't get sued now. Like you're gonna see like Star Wars references now, like crazy.
Yeah.
But
under the same house.
But the green like little techno virus that was from the original series too, and that was cool to see like the shout back. Now the way they saved it was they saved humanity was by infecting Wolverine, and Wolverine's healing factor like cured it so quickly they then used the antibodies to cure all of mutant kind. So, but this is it sounds like now they're changing things because even Bishop is like, I don't remember any of this. Like the time traveler dude is like, yeah, y'all got me. This is like brand new.
Well, I think he kind of explained a little bit. He says, what was it? Something to the effect of like the future is always being written and stuff. So just because he doesn't remember it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It just means it hasn't happened for him because he hasn't traveled back yet or whatever.
Yeah, and there's like I said, a very some of the things, and this is a great segue into our likes and dislikes, because one of the things that I like is there's a lot of supposition going on, but it's being told through the title cards. That was something that was not happening during the original run. The title cards did not change. The opening credits didn't change. This time they do, right? This time the person who actually says previously on X-Men was Jean Grey.
Right.
It's always been Cyclops, like, and then before it was Magneto because he gained control of the group. So there is definitely a story being told just in the previously on X-Men. It told us like, oh, okay, this story's, and we knew it was going to focus around Jean. The cliffhanged on a second Jean showing up.
Right.
So like I really like that. Like it's kind of tongue in cheek. You have to be really sharp to catch it. You might have to slow it down, replay it a few times. I generally will do that on the second viewing, not the first viewing.
Yeah, I'll go through and watch the credits multiple times, looking for the little things that they're changing and stuff.
Yeah,
the intro, all that, because they're doing it for every episode so far. So,
and then there's stuff I've missed, right? Like I'm like, oh my god, I didn't even realize that was in there.
Yeah, they gave a bigger. The one thing that jumped out at me in the intro this week was they showed more of the Phoenix background with Jean Grey. That it was like an extended little clip that they showed from. I think they showed it last week too, briefly, but it was like they kind of played it a little longer this time.
Yeah, one of my favorite scenes that they redid was when Rogue is flipping over the Sentinel. It's going to be probably every week, but it's such good animation. It's from the original, but it's kind of, obviously it's reshot because they're not in that 4-3 letter box anymore. We know we're all grown up. We're 16-9 boys now. So sounds like a gang name, 16-9 boys. But I personally, I like that. I like that it's changing. It's kind of like respecting us to kind of like, you're smart enough, go look for this. I like that cat and mouse game. They throw things in that you should like kind of either know, or this is going to be alluded to possibly in this episode. Another thing I liked, Matt, because you and I happen to be absolutely dead on with it. I think you and I called it last week. I said that relationship was borderline unhealthy.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about Morph being codependent on almost everybody. Now, you saw a little piece of Morph. He morphs into himself. Now, I'm using him, but morphs into the 90s version of him. The sunken eyes is because he was tortured by Sinister. He was used in a plot to betray the X-Men. Like Morph was in like the very first episode of the original series. He gets like kidnapped and like, they forget about him forever. And then like he pops back up and he was like being tortured by Sinister. Or I think maybe he dies in the opening episode, but he's really captured. So what's your take on Morph from episode 3? Do you like?
I thought they leaned in a little more about the stuff we touched on last week. There's definitely some kind of relationship thing behind the scenes there with Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
The scene where they had him, Wolverine, and I think it was Gambit all coming out of the training room, the danger room. He's making jokes about having more time with them and that kind of stuff. And then there was like a shower joke. So yeah, they're definitely
yeah. What's he say? What's he say? I'll get your hard to reach places, and he turns into Omega Red.
Yeah, so I mean, they're definitely toying around with the sexuality part there of the characters, and
X-Men is no stranger to this, right? This concept is, they've played with the Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean Grey love triangle, even in the previous children's iteration. So I'm gonna call it the children's iteration, and like this is the grown-up iteration. The 90s was your kind of like they were, and it wasn't trying to be children iteration on purpose. I think they were really being, the Fox censors were really on them for it. But there is something to say that this is a lot more overt than, the original kid series. I mean, that dude was like, and then there was Morph.
Yeah, I don't think they're shying away from it really. They're definitely, we've seen it now multiple episodes where there's something there. They haven't leaned into it too much. They're not showing too much, but the dialogue is very suggestive.
I mean, even Magneto and Rogue, I know they were a hallucination to Gambit.
Mm-hmm.
But those two just making out all over each other, touching each other, which is just like probably like the one thing that drives him crazy the most, is because Mon Chéri, can't touch her. Yeah. And I think even like, how they had all the danger room booked off? I think that was even fake. I think that was Madeline Pryor. Yeah, I think she was starting to just mess with them, because you started seeing like the other things,
like hour after hour. It was like 2 blocks of the time. Like,
yeah, I think that was
Magneto over
for reality like 2 shaping. Yeah,
could have been, because that's right where the scene started.
Right before that was Jubilee was in the movie scene.
Yeah, right as they split up there, the 3 of them, that's when they all start seeing like their own hallucinations and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, and then you got Logan Wolvie going, I got a redhead to see. Meaning he's gonna go now try, he's like, obviously I can't with this Jean Grey, that's Madeline Pryor. She's married to Scott. That's the one who's married to Scott, clearly. Well, let me shoot my shot with this other one.
Which they still haven't cleared up, like who. They haven't said when the exchange between the 2 of them was supposed to have happened. So we don't know whose memories are whose.
No, I thought she looked younger. So like
you said that last week.
She just looked like, I just looked at the new Jean Grey, the real Jean Grey, and I looked at her. I'm like, she just looks like she's like just a younger. The hairstyle was obviously different from before, and just for some reason to me that just screamed like maybe probably before they got married. Definitely before they've consummated the relationship, because that was definitely Nate Summers is definitely Madeline's kid.
Right.
That's kind of what saved her connection with the kid. Is kind of like, she loved something. I'm assuming that's what it, like, she loved something, and it made a connection to her, like snapping out of it. And the fact that Jean Grey was just connecting with her like on every level, like, yo, I know this is scary for you, it's scary for me. It was very human. It was very nice. I really liked that in her. It was trippy as hell.
Yeah, I felt like it was a clear pivot, right? They show at the beginning there's some type of red crystal or whatever that Sinister puts in the faux Jean Grey's head to control her, and that's when all the stuff begins. Mm-hmm. When she gets that crystal thing is destroyed by the real Jean Grey, that's what she seems to gets snapped out of whatever hold or whatever it was that Mr. Sinister had on her, and she's right away, she says, turns to Cyclops and says, let's go get our baby or something like that. So I don't know how much they would intend if we do see her again, how much they would plan on using her again as a villain character. I know you said in the comics she has a long history of them. There's a whole storyline that gets drawn out.
Yeah,
I
this
could see
feels
them
wrapped
using
up.
her as I could see them using her as like a backup. If they need to reach out, if something happens to Jean Grey, they have identical powers for the most part. But yeah, I think they kind of closed the loop on that whole storyline. They didn't drag it out at all. That's clearly not where they want to go for the rest of the season, at least.
Anything you particularly in this episode that you weren't just thrilled with, that is alarming for you, or you don't think it's that big of a deal? You think it kind of went with the episode and the thematic of it? Like, is anything concerning you particularly about this episode?
No, not really. It seemed to be. I mean, they were trying to give like a demonstration of what Sinister's powers were as he had control over the Goblin Queen, and we see I think Beast makes a reference to Dante's Inferno and the levels of hell that they're in. So you start to see all kinds of demon-like characters and stuff, and that was kind of corny, but they're supposed to be hallucinating. So at that point, it's kind of like
Personalized,
right? It's like
yeah.
whatever monsters they can kind of conjure up, you're going to throw at them. We know that none of it's real anyway.
Oh no, they're very real. Actually, they can
Are they
very much
real
they
things?
can very much die from her reality bending. It is not. It's not like Mysterio where it's illusions. It is definitely she. That's why I said this is kind of crazy to me that they've essentially tightened this one up with a bow. But again, I think they're compacting her origins and now using her a little bit later down, which she did eventually have her she was eventually aligned with the X-Men because that's just exactly what she needed for her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think this one is going to be more of a familial bond, not a means to an end. Did I like that? No, I didn't, because I was fond of her original backstory. Do I know why they're doing it? Sure. There's going to be one of the things that worries me is there's going to be almost no time for bottle episodes in the first season. It feels like it's going to be all story all the time.
I think it depends on what stories they kind of settled on. Like I could see where they kind of get they get to the stride of the middle of the season,
Yeah.
and then we start to see them hit the brakes a little bit on those storylines, so we can see it kind of drawn out a little better. But yeah, so far it's been like kind of monster of the week stuff.
Yeah, and it's but it's set up, right? It's not like monster of the week with no, like, there is definitely story building here, but they're
Right.
also going fast forward. And like I said, I really like the things that they're showing, because now one of the concerns I had is like, what's up with Charles Xavier last week, right? I don't know anything about him. I could have sworn at the last one we left him off with his space girlfriend. And they did. They showed a little bit of snippet of that in the intro, and they reshot one of the takes of him on the ship with her, and they, it's obviously modernized for the 97 series. But I was very pleased that, again, it's very respectful to the fans to, you got to piece some of this together yourself. We're not going to give you the whole shebang. And it's nice. It's nice to have that. I feel respected finally as kind of like a fan. I'm not being spoon-fed anything. I don't feel like there's anything being thrown in. Even the sexuality stuff, I don't think any of that's being thrown in because they need to do it. I think it's being thrown in as a purposeful story. It's motivating the story along.
Sure. There's going to be some at some point. I think we'll wind up seeing Wolverine and Cyclops fight. I think we'll wind up seeing Morph and Gambit fight. I think they're kind of pulling the strings a little bit into those little subplots there, but I think we'll see some of them come to a head in later episodes.
So I kind of know what the later episodes are going on into. I saw next week's Storm. It's going to be a Storm-centered storyline. They at the very end of the episode, they reveal Forge. Now, Forge has been in the show before. But an older version of him. time traveling, timey-wimey, right? That's what this guy does. He's his mutant power is the ability, well, he told you what his power is, but it's the ability to, he's like a techno mutie, anything that's pretty much, if you want to compare him to like Cyborg, just all things technology. He understands it, touches it, gets it. He can't like just create it, but he can build it, right? He has the ability to do that. He shows up at the end of the episode and says, "Hey, what's up?" No spoilers. I won't tell you anything about, what he's doing here for that, because we could talk spoilers about episodes that are already out, but I just don't think that I should be the one to paint the picture for you. But it is very, very interesting story. It's one of my favorite storylines with Storm, and I like a lot of her stuff just because of how OP she is. And she's OP, but they treat her respectful in the sense of character development, emotional development, power development, all of those things, leadership development. She's a very cool character.
Sure. I think it's an interesting take anyway. If you have an Omega level mutant like her lose her powers, we know the overarching storyline is the comparison between mutants and humankind, and how they can coexist. So I think it makes sense to have an arc like this where you have one of the most powerful mutants temporarily, or who knows, maybe not temporarily, maybe permanently, loses their powers, and how they deal with that in humanity. Can they acclimate, and can they find their way through that difference when it's not a way they've ever lived before. They've never really lived as a human being as in their adult life anyway. So I think it's interesting to kind of show that little tidbit. I think it, from a character standpoint, it's going to provide her with a little more insight into humanity as that storyline progresses.
Yeah, and you're, no spoilers. So I think you understand the gravity of this storyline. There's actually just a lot more in terms of what it does for the X-Men storylines for years to come. So it's actually it's one of the more important ones. I'm interested in seeing how they play it out, just because it is one of the more respected storylines from the original run with Storm. I'm just hoping that they don't give it the Madeline Pryor treatment. I don't want this to be a one and done, but I'm hoping that there's multiple parts to this. And I think there has to be, just because of not how long, but how much breadth of storyline. But I also said that there's no way they could possibly neuter the Goblin Queen storyline, but yet here we are. So we have our next episode dropping on Wednesday. We will have our next show. We are always shooting for Fridays, but no later than Saturday. So you can check out our episode 4 review next week. As more things are coming up, I believe, Matt, we are planning a Deadpool breakdown, and kind of our thoughts of that. What we kind of almost like our expectations and our wishes for the film, and also what it means. We think it means moving forward in the MCU.
Yeah, I think we could do that right when the movie initial comes out this summer. We could do initially like a no spoiler review where we're not giving away too much of the plot points. And then maybe once a little bit of time passes, we do a full on review.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. And if you are catching this on the replay, which you most certainly are, because nobody is watching it right now, not one damn person, which is great, which is good. It's not good. It's not good at all. However, if you're watching this on the replay and you've got some thoughts on the X-Men'97 episode 3, we messed it up. We were like, dude, you guys shut up. Yo, guys, you did great. Love to hear your feedback, what you got going for us. So once again, I am Keith Darth Pooh Newman.
And I am Matty.
Have a great one, y'all.